I am pleased once again to introduce Katie Carlson, who will offer a presentation entitled Balancing Our Energy Centers, Our Sacred Connection to Each Other. This presentation will incorporate some guided practices. Katie was appointed to be the first Director of Wellness Initiatives for the Marion County Sheriff's Office in 2021. Previously, she served as Public Information Officer for the Sheriff, a position she assumed in 2012. Katie finds peace and balance through yoga practice and great joy in sharing her yoga and mindfulness practices with others. Katie completed a 200-hour yoga training at City Yoga there in Indianapolis in 2019, and 2 months ago completed her coursework to become a certified mindfulness teacher through the Engaged Mindfulness Institute. Here, one day after International Yoga Day, and for her 17th Wednesday night presentation, we're pleased again to welcome you, Katie.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here again, and we're gonna get a little bit weird. Sandy's opening meditation was perfect. We're gonna actually be building on that a little bit later today too on this topic. So yeah, some of this stuff might seem a little bit strange for the public safety community, but I think it will tie together nicely in the end, or at least I hope so. So this is the second of 7 in a series that I call Balancing Our Energy Centers. When I say energy centers, I'm referring to the chakras, which is sometimes pronounced chakra. The word chakra is a Sanskrit word meaning wheel or circle, and the philosophy of chakras arose with early Hinduism. While we are all familiar with the concept of our physical body, the chakras refer to one's subtle or energy body. There are 7 chakras that align from the base of the spine to the crown of the head, and each of these energy centers is believed to correspond with different aspects of our being. In my last presentation, I discussed the first of the 7 chakras, known as the root chakra, which is associated with having our basic needs met, our family and ancestral upbringings, as well as a general sense of stability and groundedness. Today, I'm about to dive into the second chakra, the Svadhisthana chakra, which translates to where your being is established. It's also known as the sacral chakra, and that's what I'll be referring to it as for the remainder of this presentation. The sacral chakra is located between our reproductive organs and our navel. It's associated with the color orange, our reproductive organs, our kidneys, our adrenal glands, and the ages of 8 to 14 years old. I titled this presentation Our Sacred Connection to Each Other because it's our connections to each other that the sacral chakra has great influence over, both in terms of having balanced relationships with others and unbalanced relationships with others. We can probably all, to varying degrees, remember about our own youth or the youths of our children, your children, when social consciousness really starts to shift from being centered around your family to your peers. I think of these awkward early teenage years with a pang in my stomach. And it's when we begin to understand more about ourselves as individuals, when we start to form certain hobbies, talents, or interests, and start to understand more of how we're all connected to each other. For most people, it was probably around the time of your first crush. And I know in my case, there were about 100 crushes between about ages 10 and 14. It is also when social hierarchies begin to form, often based on things like money, appearances, athletic abilities. By age 14, sometimes there's not very much doubt whether you're in the in crowd or the out crowd. And it's also when bullying can begin. Though girls generally hit puberty before boys, I know that by the time I turned 14, my body and my height were pretty comparable to where they are now. So the main area of our lives that the sacral chakra oversee tend to fall into these 5 categories: our relationships to others, power, money, sex, and creativity. I'm pretty fascinated, to be honest, by the interconnectivity of these areas. While its accuracy could be impossible to truly know, prostitution is often referred to as the world's oldest profession. If you've heard that reference before, will you raise your hand? Yeah. So that nuance just kind of goes to show how deeply ingrained money and sex are into the human experience. Both are simultaneously basic and incredibly complicated constructs of interacting with others. Both create either balance or systems that establish the powerful versus the powerless. As a reminder, if you find yourself wondering why I'm talking about chakras and prostitution on a call geared towards building resiliency in public safety personnel, the reason is this. Focusing on each chakra is an opportunity to bring our attention and balance, if necessary, to various elements of our being and general wellness. Chakras, wheels, are thought of when out of balance, either spinning too fast or spinning too slow. And as we reflect on the topics of our relationships to others, power, money, sex, and creativity, if you have never felt out of balance in any of these areas, I truly envy you. Examples of being out of balance in the sacral chakra are fairly easy to come by. If a person is plagued by never having enough money to pay their bills, their sacral chakra might be spinning slow. If you are Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, it might be spinning too fast. A low libido would be slow, sexual promiscuity is fast. Being the victim on Cartman's drama triangle would be slow. Being the persecutor or the rescuer would be fast. Other signs of the sacral chakra being out of balance include shame, addictive or compulsive behaviors, in addition to physical manifestations that could be with the reproductive organs, the lower back, kidney, or stomach. One thing that I didn't mention in my last presentation on the root chakra is that when it comes to balancing our chakras, it's often considered that the first three chakras, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus chakra, which I'll cover next time if I'm invited to present again, need to be somewhat balanced before moving on to the higher chakras, which is the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra. There are a few reasons for this. One, the majority of our life upsetting problems are more likely to be associated with the first three chakras. While the root chakra is associated with having our basic needs met and our early childhood development, the third eye chakra is associated with our intuition and knowledge. You can see how addressing one's basic needs and stability, or in the case of the sacral chakra, our relationships with other people might take precedence. Keeping chakras balanced, however, is an ongoing process in which you might always need a tune up of sorts in one chakra or the other. In addition to the problem areas that are covered by each of the chakras, another reason that the first three may need our attention is because of the life stages that they are associated with and the effect that trauma during those stages may have on our ability to develop. Most people on this call are probably familiar with ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, or childhood trauma that is strongly linked to negative later life outcomes. When I'm going to share just briefly a little bit about my own journey with balancing my chakras. I personally had a pretty happy and stable childhood with no ACEs, but by the time I was 13, I developed a pretty deep depression, which came as kind of a surprise to my parents and my teachers. A few years later, I did experience a couple ACEs, though, I suppose fortunately those were somewhat later in my development. When I first learned about chakras, I realized that the issues that I'd been dealing with repetitively since adulthood fell almost entirely within the realm of the sacral chakra and not at all in the root chakra. This realization and understanding provided me with an opportunity for self care and nurture towards areas of my life that had not previously gotten much attention. closely related to mindfulness and meditation. They helped me develop a sense of self compassion that I did not have before. That self compassion and care is what helped me bring the chakra into an occasionally still fluctuating state of balance. One final note before I move on to a list of activities that can help bring the chakra, the sacral chakra into balance, and that's on the topic of creativity. Our reproductive organs create life, but the energy of creation can be applied to our lives in countless ways. As I mentioned earlier, we start to form an understanding about who we are as individuals based on what we like, what we don't like, what we're good at, what we're bad at, our strengths and our weaknesses. It is in our strengths that our talents lie, or at least our ability to develop talent. A week or two ago, we were asked at the end of this phone call to name one of our inherent positive traits, and almost everybody mentioned a sense of perseverance, hard work, or showing up. And luckily for someone who's childless like me, the creative energy of our second chakra must not only be spent on child creation, but also creating in any and all of the things that make the world a better place. However, of course, if your chakra's out of balance, it could make things worse or not be creating at all. So, what are the things that we can do to bring our sacral chakra into balance? We can wear or incorporate the color orange into our surroundings. I may not always mention crystals during this series, but I'm going to tonight, especially because I'm not that fond of the color orange. However, tiger's eye is also associated with the second chakra. I wore some tonight, and you can incorporate that into your jewelry or surroundings. You can eat orange foods. You can do yoga, especially yoga that focuses on the hips. Meditation is an important aspect of the sacral chakra balance, as is dedicating time to creative endeavors. Finally, reflecting and fostering a sense of self compassion and understanding in a journal or otherwise on the impact of these topics on your life, relationship, money, sex, power, and creativity can help bring the sacral chakra into balance. So now we're going to do a brief seated yoga practice and meditation that's aimed at bringing balance to our sacral chakra. I'm going to move my chair back briefly. And we just want to come into a comfortable seated position, whatever that feels like for you. It might feel good to sit Indian style or get your feet planted into the floor. And we'll take our hands and start to let our hands rest on our laps as we begin to connect with our breath. And as we start to connect with our breath, we just notice our breath coming in and out of our body. We start taking these full, deep inhales and exhales. We might even start to bring some balance into our inhales and exhales by counting 4 counts in, 4 counts out, 5 counts in, 5 counts out, whatever feels good, whatever feels comfortable for you. Once we start to feel settled, begin to release some tension in our body if we can feel it. We're going to move our hands to the edge of our knees just so we can get a little bit of leverage as we move back and forth. So with our hands on our knees, we're going to inhale and we're going to bring our chest forward and lift our head up towards the ceiling without straining our neck. And as we exhale, we're going to round our back, releasing our chin down to our chest. So we'll inhale forward, chest forward, head up. Exhale, rounding our back and releasing our chin to our chest. Taking about 2 more here. Inhaling forward. Exhaling back. One more time, inhaling forward. Exhaling back. And with our next inhale, we'll just come back to a neutral seated position. From here, we're going to start to make some hip circles. And so when we make hip circles, we're really just moving the tops of our bodies around. So, this is going to feel and look different on everybody. So just moving in one direction and moving in a way that feels good. If you really want to take it deeper, you can, if that's not feeling very comfortable. And we're going to go the other way. So just taking a couple more circles going this direction. Your hands can be wherever they feel the most comfortable. One more circle going this way. And then coming back to that neutral seated position. This time we're going to take the circle the opposite direction. So we just want to move the opposite way, getting those same hip circles in, moving in a way that feels comfortable, that feels good in our body, maybe just finding a little bit of opening, a little bit of loosening in our hips. The goal really to make it feel good. And stay connected to your breath. If you find yourself holding your breath, just remembering to breathe. Taking about one more circle going this direction. And then coming back up to that neutral seated position. From here, we're going to inhale, lifting our arms up overhead. And as we exhale, we're just going to start to fold over our body. So if you're seated on the ground, you might take a forward fold. If you're seated in a chair, you might just let your head come towards your knees. We want to connect with our breath here, and then inhale and start to slowly roll up. With our next inhale, we'll lift our arms back up overhead. As we exhale, folding over our body, releasing our head, releasing our neck, connecting with our breath. And then inhale, slowly rolling up. One more time, inhale, lifting our arms up overhead. Exhale, swan dive, folding over your body. Inhale, slowly rolling up. From here, we're going to take a twist. So this time we'll inhale, we'll lift our arms up overhead. As we exhale, we're going to twist to the right. So we'll bring our left hand to the outside of our right knee, and we'll bring our right arm either behind the base of our spine or at the top of the chair if that feels better for you. So we're just taking this twist to the right. And when we twist to the right, we want to look over our right shoulder and then reconnect with our breath. So we're breathing in through our nose and out through our nose if that feels comfortable for you. Just taking a couple more breaths. We might notice the way our breath moves through our body in this twist. And with our next inhale, we're going to lift our arms back up overhead. As we exhale, we're going to twist to the other side. So this time we'll bring our right hand outside of our left leg. We'll let our left hand come down either at the base of our spine or at the back of our chair. Turning our body so that we're twisting towards the left, turning our head so that we're looking over our left shoulder. Connecting with our breath, breathing in through our nose and out through our nose if that's comfortable for you. About one more big round of breath here. And with our next inhale, we'll lift our arms back up overhead. And as we exhale, we'll bring our hands back down. So next, we're going to take our right ankle and cross it over our left knee. As we inhale, we're going to lift our arms up overhead. And as we exhale, we're just going to start to fold over our leg. This is going to feel and look different for everybody. So we want to keep our back flat as long as we can. When we can't keep our back flat anymore, we just release our arms, we release our head, and we release our neck, just letting our head hang. Staying connected with our breath, breathing in through our nose and out through our nose. With our next inhale, we'll start to slowly roll back up. And we're going to switch sides so that we bring our left knee on top of our left ankle on top of our right knee, above our right knee. We'll inhale, lifting our arms up overhead. Exhale, keeping your back flat as long as you can. When you can't keep your back flat anymore, releasing your arms, releasing your head, releasing your neck. Connecting with your breath. One more big inhale and exhale. And with our next inhale, just starting to slowly roll back up. Uncrossing our legs, we're going to start to get in a position for a meditative practice, another self-compassion practice. And so just finding a position that feels comfortable for you. If you feel a little bit of tension or anything you want to kind of wiggle out of your body before from the yoga practice, you can do that. Just allowing ourselves to settle, finding a tall seated posture with our crown of our head reaching towards the ceiling or sky. Comfortable yet dignified. And you've got the option again to keep your eyes open or keep your eyes closed. If your eyes are open, maybe casting your gaze down or away from a screen. And we'll start by connecting with our breath, reconnecting with our breath. We may begin to connect with our breath by noticing where our breath is entering our body. Maybe that's a sensation of coolness coming in through your nostrils or through your mouth. We may notice the breath as it leaves our body, maybe a sense of warmth, having been heated and traveled by your lungs. Becoming a little bit more curious about each inhale and exhale, we breathe in and start to follow our inhale, feeling the expansion in our lungs. And as we breathe out, we notice the contraction of our lungs, the contraction of our rib cage, maybe a lowering or release of our shoulders and shoulder blades. Just noticing to ourselves this sense of breathing. As we begin to shift into this self-compassion practice, this one particularly comes from the Kristen Neff book, Fierce Self-Compassion. You can, if you'd like, how Sandy welcomed earlier, if it felt good to give yourself caring self-touch, you can do that. You can keep your hands on your lap, whatever might feel good to you. And again, similar to our earlier practice, we might start to consider a situation where it feels uncomfortable. This could be something that's related to the sacral chakra. It doesn't have to be. I'd recommend not doing the most uncomfortable situation, maybe something that's light to medium discomfort for a beginning practice, and just bringing this to mind and allowing your focus to settle on just something. Maybe it's the way it's almost all usually related to our relationships with others, most of the things that cause us grief in life. And so just considering a situation, not the worst, and just allowing your mind to settle on that situation. We're going to offer the phrase to ourselves that this is a moment of suffering, or that this was a moment of suffering, acknowledging, recognizing, allowing really the hurt that this situation may have caused or the discomfort that this situation may have caused in our life. This is a moment of suffering. The next phrase we'll begin to offer to ourselves is that suffering is a part of life, or suffering is normal. Everybody suffers. Whatever might feel the most comfortable for you, just knowing that we're not alone, that we're not by ourselves in these moments of suffering, these moments of feeling bad. Suffering is a part of life, it's normal, and everybody suffers at some point. And starting to shift to build a sense of kindness towards ourselves. We may offer the phrase to ourselves, may I be kind to myself. Maybe may I be loving to myself. Maybe may I accept myself the way that I am. Offering these words of kindness to ourselves. And if that's difficult, and it may be, you might think for a moment of what words we would offer to a dear, dear friend facing this same situation. What would we tell that friend? Maybe that's I love you. Maybe that's you're awesome. Maybe that's everything's going to be okay. What would we tell a friend? Or if it feels comfortable, what words of comfort, of kindness, of self care can we offer ourselves? Staying connected with the breath, maybe repeating a kind or loving phrase to yourself or what you might say to a friend one more time. beginning to bring movement back into your body. Maybe that's a stretch, maybe that's a twist, whatever might feel good. If your eyes are closed, beginning to let them flutter open as we come back together in the group. And I thank you all for your practice and sharing this practice with me.